Hi everyone, welcome to Stars and Pearls. I'm so happy that you've found your way here. I hope you click like, subscribe, and share, and that you drop a comment in the comment section below this video and let me know how it goes for you. So, this video I've been guided to speak on belonging, and I will be doing a free webinar on the sense of belonging. So, if you've never worked with me before, now's the time. The sign up link is in the description box below. And this webinar is going to help not only find what helps you gain a sense of belonging in this world, in your community, in yourself, in your relationships, but helps to foster a sense of belonging and inclusivity for others as well. And we'll dive into why this is important, why we need to start developing that, working on that again as a culture, as a collective, as a whole. So I won't dive into too much about my background and struggles with belonging, but I know that it's been a topic of mine, obviously. It's been something that I've been working through for quite some time, developing a sense of belonging. Where do I belong? Where's home? Where's roots? Where's culture? Where's my tribe? Where's my group? Where are the people that get me intuitively without me having to explain A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Where are, all these things that give me a sense of belonging? And not only that, but do I give others a sense of belonging? Do I foster that actively? Am I helping, or am I simply perpetuating something that leads to this culture and this epidemic of loneliness that many of us are experiencing? So that, bringing up that tagline, which I first heard through Teal Swan years and years and years ago, when she brought that up, that, we're diving into this epidemic of loneliness. And then all of a sudden, after she mentioned it, it was kind of everywhere. So this epidemic of loneliness that we're going through, coming from the societies that are separating us, that are disconnecting us, literally disconnecting us from any sense of life or any sense of worth, any sense of value, any sense of uniqueness, any sense of purpose, any sense of meaning, and continuously disconnecting us through generations. So this is not just happening to this generation, it happened to the generation before that, and the generation before that, and the generation before that. And this disconnect is a tear that is going through our fabric of consciousness, our fabric of reality. Now, it would be a positive thing if that would mean that we're letting go of the earth realm and we're rising higher. We're going into the higher realms. We're, ascending. But for some of us, that might be the case, but not for the majority, maybe. I don't know. Who am I to judge? All I'm seeing is the suffering because, for example, how does it show itself, this epidemic of loneliness that we're going through in our societies and cultures? People are having a hard time dating, number one. Young people are having a hard time finding partners. And this is not something that was, a thing years and years and years ago. Like, individuals would have a hard time finding a connection. Sure, it's not the first time, but that the masses are finding a hard time finding a partner, that's kind of unusual at, the ages that people are talking to me about this at. There's a loss of hope in the future, and especially in our current youth, it seems that even in China, there's this trend called lie dead and rot in Chinese, and lie down and rot. And apparently, it's a thing that young people, and obviously, it's not everybody, clearly, but for it to be called a trend, it's sufficiently enough in the collective consciousness for it to be recognized, for it to be acknowledged. This trend is to literally stay at home and do nothing, live your life, work online, never go out except for maybe to grocery shop, never connect with other people, never contribute meaningfully to society, never volunteer, never help like nothing, just staying in your shoebox and rotting. And this is not just a trend in Asia or in China. This is, I find it's in its own way kind of everywhere right now. where people in general are, yes, there was a massive shift in consciousness after the last 2, 3 years that we experienced. There has been a massive uptick in awakenings, in air quotes again, all these, new age terminology I'm using in, but people realizing what's happening, what's going on, what's, just waking up to reality, and that this is not all there is. At the same time, however, there seems to be a downtick in this drive to explore life, to live life, to put yourself out there in life. Now, I've been traveling quite a bit recently, as you guys may have noticed, and quite cheaply, so I might be doing that as well. Another webinar on how to travel cheap. But in any case, one of the things that I consistently run into is this sense of belonging to family and community, where I get asked that question, where is home? Or why haven't you been back to your birthplace or your place of birth? And all these, things where the countries that I'm traveling in now, people are deeply rooted and connected to the land, the culture, the traditions, the way of speaking, the food, the way of dressing, the all of it, and deeply connected to that. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's really beautiful because it's beautiful to maintain these cultures. But in more modern society, in more, especially multi societies, multi everything, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi you name it, how do we foster this sense of inclusivity, this sense of belonging? How do we assist people, no matter what age, race, nation, language, you name it, to find a sense of meaning, purpose, belonging outside of their immediate place of work, possibly, or their immediate role that they play, let's say, in a given situation. Okay, I hope I expressed that properly. And why is the sense of belonging so important? Well, when we belong, we have a lot more strength. And there are cultures which are soul connected cultures. I have run into that where the tribe or the clan is deeply connected on the other side, like the roots of a tree, where it's one organism. And when people leave that culture, they leave that connection, they literally lose energy and wither, and they can't sustain themselves. And this is seen in several indigenous cultures, in deeply rooted, deeply connected cultures to their culture or their land. And it having a sense of belonging gives us a sense of meaning. It gives us a sense of purpose as well, especially in the olden days where I keep speaking about this, how important that is, that we bring that back in, that we bring that back, our rights, puberty rights, where we're allowed to release our childhood, release the childhood experience. Our parents are allowed to release us and watch us grow up, and have to acknowledge that we are becoming carriers of responsibilities in society. We have to leave childhood behind. We can't carry it forward with us. We're given the meaning and the purpose of our experiences during childhood. And then in these puberty rites, we would receive new names that reflect the role and the energy that we bring to the weaving of the fabric of society, giving us a sense of meaning and of purpose. So as these rights are lacking nowadays, I find that is also not allowing us to step into the consciousness or the realization that we've grown up. We're now adults, we're now responsible adults. And so we kind of over focus on the self way further than we should, trying to fix our childhoods. And although that is necessary to a certain extent, it's also necessary to recognize the role that we currently play as adults in the societies that we're in, and the power that we have to make changes, to influence, to direct flow of energy, manifestation, intention, consciousness, to pattern consciousness itself in the collectives that we're living in or residing in. And I find that super important. But to be able to do that, we have to have a sense of belonging. We have to have a sense that, we belong here. And it's become also trendy. I feel it's trend more than anything, fashionable to kind of fake spiritualize that lack of connection that we're all experiencing and feeling, or some of us are experiencing and feeling to the extreme, and making it something otherworldly. We come from a different dimension or a different planet. That may be so, that very well may be so, that the most love that we ever experienced in any incarnation whatsoever, and that's what my guide told me, is what we're actually looking for when we're looking for what planet do we come from, what star system, what other dimensional level. It's that because all of us originate in one source. That is our origin. And we can't say that we originate in a different star system or on a different planet, or this we're from there, because our true origin is from source. That is the ultimate origin where we all begin. But what we're looking for when we say we're from there or from there is to tap into the energy of the memory of the incarnation where we experienced the most unconditional love. This is where we felt closest to God in an existence or an incarnation, while having an experience of individuation or separation from that source. So it's not really that we're originating from there, it's an incarnation where we experience the most love. So it's become this kind of thing to kind of throw the towel, lie down and rot and say, I'm not from here. I'm from a different system anyway. So I'm just sitting out my time until I can go home. And totally missing the opportunities that we're given here to become masters of limitations, however they show up, and to pattern consciousness, and to know how to pattern consciousness, whether individually, as in our own consciousness, or in a collective or in a group. And to find that sense of belonging, there's several things. We have to be able to communicate, right? Communication is absolutely key. That was one of the deepest, most profound lessons I learned in Mexico, actually, where I'm not that fluent in Spanish. I can weave my way through, but yeah, to become really, really, really fluent, I would have had to invest way more than I was honestly investing. But that limited my interactions with the community quite clearly. Communication is unbelievably important. So if you're withdrawing, you're pulling back, you're not putting yourself out there, you're not giving the energy, because we're not just here to receive. Receiving is important. Receiving is super important. Receiving is actually more humility building and ego dismantling than it is to give, because we can give out of a sense of high ego. I have, you don't, right? I know, you don't. We can give out of a sense of really, and we can develop our ego through giving, but receiving, there's the sense of gratitude that we have to develop, a sense of humility, a sense of acceptance, right? And not receiving out of the entitled aspect of, you owe this to me. Okay, so there's that thing with receiving, which is really, really, really important, and it's important to learn. Hence, the monks that only are allowed to live off of their begging bowls, because they have to humble themselves and learn how to receive. But communication is key, because we also have to be able to express ourselves here. That's part of our life journey and our life path and our life intention that God had radiating us into this realm, was that we are expressing or communicating or revealing or showing a certain aspect of the divine, or a certain aspect of divine life, divine awareness, divine consciousness, however you want to phrase that. So it's absolutely imperative that we communicate that we get that out there. However we communicate, whether it's through arts, dance, music, writing poetry, or through the way that we organize and lead, or through the way that we nourish and support, or through the way that we are accepting, right, of what is. So many different ways that we can communicate who we truly are on the inside. This is absolutely imperative. Most people will not, though, unless they feel they're safe. And if they don't feel they're safe or a sense of belonging, they're not going to really communicate. So a lot of people will, book a session and ask, like, how do I express myself? How do I get myself out there? How do I put myself more into my job or into my career or into my business, into my work, into my art, into whatever it is that I'm producing? And one of the things I'm finding consistently more and more and more is that a lot of people that are having difficulties doing this are lacking a sense of true belonging. And through that, they're not feeling truly safe. And through that, they're not really expressing themselves. Okay. So another thing about the sense of belonging, communication, is that you're feeling seen, you're feeling recognized, you're feeling acknowledged by those that are receiving what you have to offer, in other words, who you are. So that's super important that the community that you're in, they engage with you, they interact with you, they communicate with you, they smash the like button, they drop a comment. But no, that honestly, that they engage, communicate, reciprocate, give back, connect with you, give feedback. And through that, you're able to adjust, right? And so communication is key. Being seen is key, that the community sees you, the community is aware of you, okay? That community are affirming who you are. So if you're saying, I'm a dancer, that the community can say, yes, you are a dancer. We accept that you are a dancer. Hey, everybody, anybody who wants to learn about dancing, this is the person to go to because she is a dancer, he is a dancer, right? So it's super important that people feel affirmed in their true identity. And this is where the trick is coming in, especially in our times, because it's not about the ego identity or the identity that is put out there to the world, that you wake up one morning and you say, okay, I feel like this. It's about the true identity that is radiating through you that comes from the divine. Another thing is that to feeling a sense of belonging is that we feel an expanded sense of self. And this expanded sense of self has to do with the cultures that we're connected in with, right? So we have this I vision, me. We have the vision of ourselves within our family unit, and we have the vision of ourselves within the cultural community unit. And so this is also a part of how, our identity and who we are, right? So which culture we belong to, which tribe, which clan, which nation, okay? And so that forms a part of our identity. So this is also important that we're aware of these cultural values and we're accepting of them. And that those cultural values and that culture is also accepting of us. Hence, so many issues nowadays with people not feeling that sense of belonging with their culture, which is an extended family, an extended sense of self, an extended identity, and fighting for their rights in that sense, where rights, it's actually more about being accepted, feeling affirmed. So being heard, that goes in hand with being seen, right? So having a sense of agency, that's super important as well, right? So being able to take actions, having the right to take actions. So this is, within a family, everybody knows the family dynamics, you know what actions you're allowed to take and what not. So for example, if I get angry at a parent, it is allowed and permitted for me to get angry in a sense by myself. I'm not allowed to express that. That would be it would feel like an emotional death sentence or a psychological death sentence as a child to get angry at your parent, right? Um, so it's it's important to have a sense of belonging, that we also have a sense of agency, that we're allowed to take action on things. So an acceptable form of releasing anger within the family unit would be, for example, punching a pillow, drawing a picture, writing in a journal, going out into the forest and screaming at the trees or something like that. So we're all given a sense of agency within certain contexts, right? So within the family context, within your cult community, and within your culture, within your nation, so on and so forth. So it's important that people have a sense of agency, that they do have an ability to act, to speak, to do as they please, to be themselves, to be able to express themselves freely. So this is part of that, having a sense of belonging is I'm safe to be myself here. I'm safe to act the way I would normally act here. I'm safe to do what I would normally do here. And what's also important is that there is a well-wishing crew around you, that you're in a community, right, that wishes you genuinely well. And I feel like a lot of us are lacking that. A lot of us are lacking that. It's become a transactional society where it's mostly, I mean, there is a lot of good out there. Don't, we're focusing here, even though we shouldn't, on what's not working. And what I actually want to be focusing on is how can we strengthen, maintain, and heal, right? Strengthen and maintain what is working and heal what isn't. And so focusing on well-being, wishing others well, being with someone, how soothing is it to be with your best friend or to be with your partner who you know you can be yourself unconditionally with and they wish you unconditionally well. All of a sudden, everything is easier. Decision making is easier. It's easier to be clear about who you are and what you are and what you want. It's easier to express yourself. You have more strength because you're not building up resistances, right, to something that you feel is detracting you from being you or wishing you unwell. So it's super important for these points to all converge in your life. So if you feel like you're surrounded by people that aren't wishing you well, that are happy at every misstep that you make, that are judgmental or jealous or anything like that, right? Limiting in some way, shape, or form, you're going to have difficulty with a sense of belonging. If you feel that you are not being seen or heard, if you feel that you're not connected to the greater culture that you're in, that you don't value the culture that you're in, if you feel that you're not being affirmed by the culture that you're in or the society, group, community, family, unit, you're going to have difficulties with belonging. If you feel that you can't engage, you can't communicate, you can't connect, you're going to have difficulties with belonging. And all the sense of belonging is your roots of your tree, right? So with that lacking or broken, it's going to be difficult to connect to the deeper energies. Now, that's on the other side of the veil. This is why it's also important, is because the way our consciousness is built. So it's one huge field of consciousness, one big grid of consciousness. And we've already in previous videos discussed that with the hive of five. And I should be working on a new hive of five, but I've been moving a little bit. So it's going to take a minute for me to get back in that. So but they already explained that it's a field of consciousness and that we move our awareness through this field of consciousness. So wherever awareness is, you can imagine it as a pinpoint of light moving through fabric, and there's this halo or this aura of light around it. Now, the more aware we become, the more we move away from the point of the eye, because the eye point is where everything originates in that sense. And most of our conversations come from that point, from the point of the eye. Most of our understanding, most of our communication, we're kind of, when we, as we grow, we're locked in this perspective of only seeing from the self, right? But as our awareness grows, and this is part of growth of awareness, we develop multiple perspectives. We're able to see from a perspective of they, or from the group, for example. We're able to feel what other feel. We're able to have compassion and empathize. We're able to release the self and move more into a group collective consciousness. And that's not a bad thing. It's been touted as bad, and it's being put down and negated because there's the fear of hijack of that collective consciousness. There's the fear of the Borg, but it's actually not a bad thing if it's done well and in high intention. Okay, so there's that. But that's a different, you know. So as we move through these layers, right? We're moving through the ego consciousness, the subconsciousness, the community or the collective consciousness, the super consciousness. We're moving through all these different realms of awareness into ever higher or more expanded states of informational fields and flows. So not having that sense of belonging means we're dodging one of the layers in our consciousness field that we actually need to move through to get into the other ones as well. And so that's super important because being in an individualized state consistently, it kind of locks and limits us into one perspective and one perspective only. And we're kind of seeing that in the world around us right now, this divide and conquer tactic of our governing and organizing entities. Um, they've done a great job. And it's but at the same time, there are other developments that are happening, and things are moving forward in a good and benevolent and beautiful way. And I'm hoping to contribute to that and offer this belonging webinar to you. You can sign up for it in the description box below this video. We're going to be diving into what you can do, like I said in the beginning, to give yourself that sense of belonging, to allow yourself that, because even though it might seem like a, trivial topic, it's one of the more deeper, more important topics that you're going to run into in your life, where you're going to have to find a way to comfort yourself, to give your sense a sense of belonging, to give others a sense of belonging too, right? This is not just about you or me here, right? So we'll dive into that, and we'll dive into how it shows itself or how it can reveal itself that you're lacking a sense of belonging, and what a lack of a sense of belonging can actually lead to. And you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised that a lot of the people that are, moving towards the right? What they're actually doing is trying to find that sense of belonging. And that's going to be in the free webinar. Okay. So I hope to see you there. And if I don't, I'm more than happy to work with you one-on-one personally to dive into how we can heal that within you and how you can move on from that, how you can get into those deeper layers of consciousness, how you can access more information and allow yourself to feel that sense of belonging and to allow others to come home as well. Okay. Take care. Bye.